care and well-being in the workplace is more important than ever. How can we make this an integral part of our business ethos so we can foster loyalty and create a truly happy and fulfilled team? Joining me today, we have 5 experts from across the industry who each have a fresh approach to well-being. And they're all working hard to ensure it becomes a priority for everyone in the industry. We have Louis Byrne, international stylist and founder of I Can, I Am, I Will. Joe Hemmings, owner of Blog Salon in Bristol. Joe Dyer, co-founder of Yoke the Salon in Plymouth. Claire Jones, owner of Self Love Salon in Merseyside. And Paul Hessian, head of Hessian Hairdressing in Dublin. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me all today. I'm going to start by asking all of you, was there a particular moment or trigger which led to a shift in your approach and attitude towards well-being? And if so, what was it? Louis, let's start with you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here with you today on such an important topic. My shift to self-care and well-being really came through my personal experience, really, of kind of reaching rock bottom and breakdown point through kind of not caring for myself, not understanding what well-being meant, and not really understanding how I function as a human and how to thrive as that, really. So it came from the darkest points of my life now to one of the highest points of my life, and it was important for me to be able to kind of share everything that I've learned up until this point, to be able to offer that advice and expertise to other people that don't know, because until you're in that situation, you don't necessarily know about that situation. And well-being, self-care, empowerment isn't really things that we're taught, as we're growing. And I believe that needs to be shifted, and we need a bigger understanding of that.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Joe from Blogs, how do you kind of relate to this? How did it kind of trigger your sort of response?
Hi, Kelsey. Yeah, so for me, it all started to hit home when I became a parent and became a dad about 5 years ago. That actually, there's more important things in life. How I had the business before that was very different to how it is now. And I think having children myself definitely hit home that the stresses, the strains, the pressures you can feel on a daily basis definitely made me realise what my team go through and what I'm going to go through sort of moving forward. Also, having children, I've got 2 daughters who are very different, and actually understanding their needs and the sort of parenting you've got to do is very similar to looking after a team. Everyone has different needs and different sort of times in their life, different challenges, and actually understanding that, for me personally, really allowed me to be a better salon owner and also more aware of life in general.
Yeah, I feel like that's something a lot of people can relate to, because having children is such like a big shift in life, and with that, priorities do naturally change. Joe from Yoke, was there a similar sort of trigger point for you?
I think, we've had the salon for 4 years. I think every time we've thought about anything that we're going to ask the team to do, Steve and I have always said to each other, well, would you want to do that? Like with working Christmas, like working the period between Christmas and New Year, we wanted to not work that period. So we kind of don't expect the team to. So we've kind of always had that in the back of our mind. And then same as Joe from Blogs, we had a little boy 3 years ago. And that just makes you think about everything. And it also makes you, think about the guys individually, obviously, as well. But everyone's human and everyone's got different needs. So obviously COVID was huge as well, because people had that time out and family became even more important for everyone. So I think it's always trying to get that balance right and give people as much time out of work as possible.
Absolutely. And Claire, I know from speaking to you previously, this has been something very personal to you as well, and it's fundamental to the way you do salons. But could you talk us through kind of what was the turning point for you in terms of your approach?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me. And mine's very similar to Louis. it was my own mental breakdown that shifted me to make changes initially for myself. It was learning about ways to heal for myself. I was introduced to holistic therapies by actually one of my clients who's now one of my best friends. But I'd suffered all my life with anxiety, depression, extremely low self-esteem, and I hated every inch of myself inside and out. And it was through my breakdown, which I actually am so grateful for now, that was a turning point for me. And I realised the importance of feeling good on the inside, and that no matter how much you change anything on the outside, which, can be hair, aesthetics, whatever. If you feel horrendous on the inside, you're never going to see it. You're never going to see the goodness on the outside. So this is why I initially did it for myself, but then I'm driven to do it and help others through my salon.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such an empowering message. And you've turned that, much like Louis, into a positive. And I think that's a really beautiful, powerful thing. Paul, I know with you, it's very much a lockdown situation. So tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of impacted the way you think now.
Well, thanks for having me this afternoon. Anyway, I love being on this kind of stuff because I love interacting with this kind of feeling of well-being. But for me, to be honest with you, when I say old school, I'm longer in hairdressing than you guys are, definitely. Lockdown for me was amazing. I just stopped. I stopped everything. My mind stopped. My brain stopped. I didn't worry about the business because I didn't have to worry about it. So it gave me time to reflect on how I was doing things. And man, I was doing things I felt at the time right. In hindsight, was wrong, because we gave nobody a chance to breathe, nor myself. I didn't have a chance to breathe. I was working 6 days a week. I was doing seminars every second weekend. I was away from my family. And as Joe was saying there, I've got 5 kids. I was every second weekend I was away. I never saw my son playing football. This kind of stuff. So I had a lot of time to reflect. Now, in that time, I have to understand as well, I have a business. I have 58 staff working with us. I have to have a business viable. So I have to sort of work around what I wanted from the business, and I wanted for myself, my mental health and my team's mental health, which I never took into consideration ever, because we just worked, we grafted, and that's the way it was. But without saying I'm delighted for COVID, it was a horrific thing. I stopped and I learned an awful lot, and I really did. I got down to understanding people and their needs a lot more. And as one of the guys was saying there, I took into consideration what I want to do. I don't want to work between Christmas and the New Year. So what am I going to help my staff? So we've worked different things now, and we'll probably discuss it later on, how we're implementing things. But as I said to you, I've turned right the way around. I had none of this before, honestly.
And I know you're definitely not alone in that, both personally, from a business perspective, it has been life-changing, and it has definitely given everyone time to kind of hit reset and reconsider what they want. With that in mind, Joe from Blogs, do you feel that sort of shift has been seen in your staff's attitudes and priorities towards their own well-being since COVID?
Yeah, sorry, definitely. I think there's definitely been a shift from team after COVID, that they spending time at home with their family and their friends and loved ones. They sort of want to carry on doing that. I think we have to really be aware that, I think Joe from Yoke said the same thing, that if we want to do things ourselves in the business, we have to understand that you have to lead by example. And if we want sort of certain time off, our team will also do the same sort of time off. And I think you also have to look at, so my team have got age, my eldest sort of employee is 74, and it goes right down to 17. So across the board, you're going to have numerous team members who have different sort of wants in their lives. So some of the ones that have come back after COVID, who have already maybe have a family, definitely wanted to spend more time in the evenings and weekends and that kind of stuff. Other team members who are looking to buy houses, and they've come back really sort of driven by finance and be busy and maximize their working week. So I think it really has everyone shifted their attention to what's important to them at that point of their life and their career. And they're really sort of aware of that now. I think having them the break from work has probably allowed people to really think what's important to them and sort of come back and actually happy to voice that. Whereas maybe before they would always try to keep it to themselves. But now they're aware that actually them being happy is really important. And how can we as salon owners help them do that?
Absolutely. I think for a lot of people, it's kind of, they want to feel fulfilled with what they do. And obviously they want to help you and your business be successful, but ultimately they need to put their own happiness at a much higher priority than they were doing. So with this in mind, Louis, speaking from your personal experience, how do you feel that teams and bosses can work together to kind of alleviate that pressure of earning that perhaps could lead to burnout, and instead prioritize their skills and their technique and creativity so they feel fulfilled at the end of each working day?
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to culture, doesn't it? And making sure that you have a culture that is positive and open and honest, and that you're able to connect and talk openly. And for me, on my journey of recovery and self-discovery, you know, the more open and honest that I was with my situations and experiences, that just allows an access key for people to be open and honest back, you know, and that trickles down, whether it's from staff, client, you know, offering a service. So if you can create a culture of positivity and uplift within the business and within the staffing team where everybody is kind of on board, then that is a way of creating that culture for the salon and for the client too, and making an attractive place for people to want to come and spend their time and money with you, you know. And if you can, you know, what really brings you joy? Is it financial joy? You know, the times when I have earned the most money in my life have probably been some of the most miserable times, you know, but the times when I'm bringing it back to simpler times and connecting with people and expressing myself and being seen and being heard and being creative are the times when I'm really joyful and thriving, you know what I mean? And we all do this job because we love it, and we love people, and we love to connect, and we love to express ourselves. So let's bring it back and make it a little bit more simpler, which is why I kind of have created the Reset Plan, which is a 3-month coaching plan that you go through daily. And it's about consciously connecting to sort of who you are, what makes you happy, along with a well-being journal that's for retail and for staff. So it's almost a journey that you go on yourself to create the culture within your company, but then it shares through with client as well. And, you know, it's something that I've been actively using with my clientele, because I work a clientele on a Sunday. I do Sunday sessions from Nicola Clark, John Frieda, and the journal's stocked in there now, and it works really well. People are really looking for a way to be able to sort of understand who they are and unclutter their minds, like we all go through, you know. And it's that time to talk about it, but have practical tools that actually really help, you know.
Absolutely. Joe, I know from Yoke, correction. I know you have been a big advocate for your staff coming first, basically from the get-go, rather than kind of taking that corporate stance of like the client is always right and perhaps not always supporting staff. And I know, speaking from experience, that you don't want them to kind of have to give up lunch breaks if somebody else is ill, and all those kind of things that really can lead to a wider burnout for the entire team. So how do you manage that balance between still keeping clients loyal? You know, Paul said ultimately you do still have to keep your business running, but also keeping your staff happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, it's also comes down to culture, like Paul was saying. So if you create the kind of culture where people feel safe, if your staff feel safe and they're happy to work there, they're not knackered, they're not going to a client burnt out and upset, then the clients are happy. If clients in there are happy, and it's really hard, isn't it? Because it's like they're having that no dickheads policy, basically, but it's kind of what it is. As soon as you start letting people in there, they're going to make other people feel uncomfortable and going to make the staff feel uncomfortable. It's a small room, it's a salon, it's a small space. You can tell the atmosphere that's going on. So I think clients are happy and they're getting amazing service because the team are really happy and they've got lots of things to talk about, they've got time to have interests out the salon, they're healthy. Yeah. So I guess what we talked about before, Kelsey, on the phone before this was things like, if we do have a member of staff off sick, instead of the old school way of prioritizing all those clients that are booked in with that member of staff that's now off sick and squeezing them into every other stylist's lunch break, every single tiny gap they might have, that those clients that are coming in are having a bad experience, or they're having a lesser experience. It doesn't have to be a bad experience. And the members of the team that are there are then stressed out and burnt out that day because they're having to accommodate those clients. I would always rather have a client be upset and maybe leave a bad review because they've been told that they can no longer be accommodated that day because the member of staff that was going to look after them is off sick for personal reasons, whatever, then have them come in and have a bad experience and then be able to give us bad feedback.
Absolutely. It's kind of a vicious cycle because ultimately, they're not going to be getting the experience that they want. Your staff aren't going to be happy, and nobody wins in that situation. It's not delivering the experience that the client really does want. So yeah, it might be frustrating to them that, oh no, I've got to wait another few days until I can have a cut or colour, whatever it may be. But like long term, that is absolutely more beneficial to do it that way. Yeah. So Paul, obviously for you going forward, lockdown was such a massive shift for you in your approach and how you're running the company going forward. How do you go about working with your team to make sure that, again, you are keeping the business successful, but the working hours, obviously people might need more downtime now, or they might have different commitments they need to kind of stick to. So how do you go about making sure that is taken care of?
Well, what big shift for me was I let them make a lot of decisions for themselves, really, with the time they want to spend with a client. We don't tell them they have to spend a certain amount. It depends on them. Whatever they feel they want to spend, an hour for a haircut or whatever that was never me, and we sat down, we had a great conversation with each stylist individually and colorist. What would they get the best results for themselves, mentally, physically, and for the client? And it's all about timing. So we changed a lot of timings. If they need to take time off work and stuff like that, yeah, but there has to be a bit of give and take. There's a lot more of them taking Saturdays off now, but we swap Saturdays, which I was never mad on, but it's working out really well. The harmony in the salon on a Saturday is fantastic. It's different than it used to be. I enjoy going in there on a Saturday now, where before it was like crazy. The guys, if they only work I think there's only two of us that are working full time. Obviously me, and I think one of our receptionists, she's full time because she wants to, and she's saving to buy a house. Some of the guys that are saving to buy houses or whatever the case may be, they'll work shift work, they'll work longer hours, but it's up to themselves. I don't set them any targets. I don't set them any stress levels. It's very, very relaxed. But they want to work. They want to earn money. But they want to be in an environment where I'm nicer. I'm more relaxed. And I am. I'm a nicer person. I swear to you. I was never a bad gift, but I was very tense. That kind of way all the time, worrying about, we getting enough people in, and we still getting clients coming through the door. Now, obviously, the amount that we do throughout the week is not far off we were pre-COVID, because we're busier Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday now. Because a huge amount of our clients, like most of you guys who are salon owners, the gig, they're coming in on their laptops, they're working they've got their headsets in and they're working away. That's busy. Mondays, what have I got? In our main salon now, I've got 5 senior stylists in there and 2 colorists. The rest of the salons we broke down with 3 or 4 stylists working. And it's great. And they're busy and they're happy out. But I have to be honest, the change came from me, because with our business, we're in business 50 years. So you can imagine we ran the salon, not quite like we did 50 years ago, but we did move progressively. But I still be running it, I think, fairly similar to what I probably would have been a bit more calmer as I got older. But I've changed around completely. And I am actually feel better in myself going to work. I really do, And much in an environment where, I think they actually like me more in the salon, which is mental,
Yeah, absolutely. I know when we spoke earlier in the week, you did actually mention you took a summer holiday for the first time in probably forever, which is probably something that most salon owners still don't have the opportunity to do so. And with that, obviously, you've got so many factors to consider to create that positive, supportive environment. And a lot of that probably does start with your own personal being. And with that in mind, Claire, how do you think and feel that salon owners themselves can kind of shift? It might not be massive, it might not be using some of your fantastic holistic methods, but what's some small things that each salon owner watching could be doing to kind of lead a more positive, happy lifestyle themselves?
I agree with a lot of what everybody else has just said. You know, I think everybody is prioritising the well-being and health more, which is, you know, money can't buy these things, can it? Time and things. The things that, you know, I do in my salon, you know, and it's not, they don't have to do them, you know, because they work at my salon. I just encourage it for staff, is that we meditate before work. Only a little meditation, like a 5-minute meditation. You know, we have the crystals. I even bought them all a crystal bracelet, you know, to help with anxiety and things. And like Joe was saying about the breaks and things, making sure that they have breaks. And we bought water bottles to encourage them drinking more water and just things like that, encouraging them to get fresh air. But we're also doing a mental health first aid course, which is going to be really good for learning about their mental health as well. So it's just making little shifts and sort of like, you know, opening up doors of things that they might not have been aware of before and creating a positive environment.
Fantastic. It is definitely the small things. And that is kind of something that I've spoke to you all individually about. It's not, you know, aiming to kind of totally switch your attitude. It is just about making those small steps to cultivate a better environment for you, your staff, your clients. Everywhere along the chain, everyone has to be taking those little steps to, you know, lead a better life ultimately. And with that, obviously, we have spoken about working hours. It is a big bone of contention. But for you, Joe, from blogs, I know that has been a massive thing. And you have the Dream Week planner that you've implemented with your team as part of getting those discussions going to see how they actually are really feeling and how you can support them. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I actually, about 6 years ago, I actually stopped working Saturdays, shut one on Saturdays, sort of 6 years ago. Purely because you can sort of see your stylists' life stages changing and life sort of lifetimes changing with partners and that kind of stuff. And we did lose a lot of clientele because of it. But I did see that the team's happiness and actually sort of attitude, just enjoyment from Monday to Friday really sort of boost in a way. And since COVID, it all sort of started again when one of my busiest stylists, when she gives everything to her clients, and she's inundated with sort of repeat business, you can just see she's getting a bit frazzled on the edges. She's getting a little bit sort of just, not burnt out, but just a little bit tired in the mornings and that kind of stuff. And I pulled her for a chat one day and went for a walk at a coffee outside a Wonder. And I asked her to draft out just what in her head her dream week looked like. From Monday to Sunday, on columns on a page, just keep it really simple. I said, take it away with your partner, with your fiance, speak to him, speak to your mum, and plan in sort of dinner dates, dog walking, going to the gym, what time you want to start work in the morning, what's your best Sunday look like. And then when you get an idea of what she sort of thought her dream week would be like, you can then plan it back into the business and actually look at ways of changing the hours, starting later, finishing earlier. And we even holidays, for example, in the blogs, we have there's no limits on it whenever you want it. You can have an hour here, hour there, Saturdays, evenings. There's no sort of like policies in place to cover holidays. So she can start to sort of build her dream week within the business. And then that sort of went from there one stage further. When you understand what people would really love to happen every week, it tends to all sort of work together. People all sort of understand the team needs, the partners, parents. You can really sort of get a picture in your head what your team are after. And then I sort of think you have to sort of mold the business around your team, and your team come first. And then we sort of change the hours around them and sort of allow them to really get what they want from their week. And it sounds strange, sort of. I asked them to put in there literally the most silly things. So it could be anything, getting your nails done, or it could have been going for a walk, or dog walking, or a lunch, or seeing everything you want in your week, pop it in there. And then as we're quite visual people ourselves and creative, you then start to be creative with it and start to draw it out and map it out. And it's quite a fun exercise. I think it's great for me. It has worked really well.
And some of that comes from the trust and the support that you do offer each of your team. And that is something that, again, I know all of you on this panel are very much big advocates for, of having those honest conversations and making sure that people do trust and can tell you and be honest about their feeling. You know, ultimately nothing will change if people aren't in a position where they feel that they can speak honestly about how they're feeling. Paul, how did you kind of create that atmosphere so it was a trusting environment so people could come to you about anything big or small?
Yeah, I get on. I'm with the guys all the time. I'm on the floor with them the whole time, and I've got great one-to-one with every single one of the guys. And as Joe was saying there from Dog, we go for a walk. I bring them out. They say, "Can we go for a chat?" It's brilliant, and I get a great feeling of what they want. I think that's a fantastic idea. What's your dream day? I think that's brilliant. You know, something like that, to give the feedback from what they really, really want. We've a private room upstairs that we still use, but when we came back from COVID, we used it an awful lot with clients who are feeling very vulnerable or very sort of, they want to be away, or even some staff members now. If sometimes they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed in the salon, which can happen, they're allowed to use that room with any of their clients. There's no problem. And that was one of the guys, that was their idea. Can we use the room? I said, of course, there's no problem. I said, like, what's your, ask them what the reason was. Sometimes I feel I'm a bit too much going on the salon floor. I want to get away from it. And it's brilliant. But that's just through conversation, because, like, you know, and I keep referring to beforehand, I was never unapproachable, but I think they always felt, oh, just get on with it. You know, now I don't want them just to get on with it. Tell me what you're feeling. And if if the feelings aren't right and I can change it and we can change it, I will, because I know I can change things now. And, you know, the idea of coming into work or I am collar work. We're a big family. We're still a family-owned business. So each one of the guys in there are part of me. I've grown up with all of them, you know, and the older ones that are there, they're like my sisters, you know, the guys that work with me, they're genuinely like family with us. And we speak to each other really, really openly. You know, I always wanted that. Always. Like, the staff room for us is a conversation piece about how the salon's going, good, bad, and indifferent, you know. And I like to hear what's going wrong rather than what's going right, because I think when you know what's going wrong, you can really fix it, you know.
And some of that does come through kind of looking inwards. Louis, for anyone who might be watching who perhaps might not be a business owner but might be a team member, how do you kind of set aside that time to look inwards? And I suppose even business owners, it's very easy to carry on and pretend that everything is okay when perhaps it might not be. And obviously you've mentioned journaling, but how is some other things that people can carve out that time to sit and reflect? What would your advice be?
Well, I think my first bit of advice is to look at your choices, you know, because ultimately you are making all the choices of your behaviours. And if your behaviours are not suiting you, then you kind of need to make a bit of a shift and you need to make a bit of a change. It's not always that easy to recognise because, you know, as humans and as people, we don't want to have reflected to us what's wrong with us and what we need to change. So if you can kind of take a little bit of time daily with the small efforts on a daily routine, then that is what creates the bigger picture. So something like the reset plan or something like journaling, where you can kind of see and visually see, as somebody said earlier, you know, we are obviously all creative people. If you can write it down and get it out there and get it out of your head, then it kind of stops those spiraling kind of wormholes of anxiety and doubt, you know. And we need to kind of track and monitor, and that's the most important thing.
And switching back to kind of then what business owners or salon managers can be doing, it is making sure you are tracking and monitoring those things. It's like what both Joes are doing, having those regular conversations. And I know everyone on this call is doing. And I think that is so important. So how do you kind of, you know, start those conversations with your staff and sort of very gently pull them aside and say, I think you might not be happy, or, you know, you don't seem yourself. What can we be doing? How can you do about doing those kind of things, Louis?
Yeah, it's about recognizing it, isn't it? And leading by example, definitely. And, you know, you kind of attract what you are. So if you can have the conversation that is positive and uplifting and non-confrontational, but introduce things like coaching plans and introduce things where people can kind of start to do it for themselves. Nobody kind of really wants to be told that they're having a problem, or their behavior is a problem. So it's about kind of trying to recognize it for yourself. So implementing techniques within the company that are a little bit more private for people to do, but, you know, as a culture and as a thing, they're there. Like, I have the B plan, which is Breathe, Break, Boost, Believe, which is a poster and digital campaign which shares kind of knowledge on all of those key steps of the B plan, just to kind of encourage that conversation around and help people express.
Absolutely. And besides from creating that kind of honest, open environment, Jo from Yoke, what are some of the other ways that you can be doing to support and uplift your staff? You know, it's not just then having those coffees once a week, once a month. It's, you know, the team building, it's the small things that, you know, lead to a very much more well-rounded life as well outside of work. What's some of the things that you're doing with your team?
We are really lucky. We're right next to the sea. So I think we said this on the call as well. Well, I said it, Kelsey. I was thinking about this the other day, and there was always that attitude of you didn't have to be friends with the people that you worked with. I think actually, especially when you're in a small team, there's 14 of us, you do have to respect and ultimately be friends with people that you're spending the majority of your time with. And luckily that's happened organically, and there's like people in the group that are closer with each other, but all together we respect each other and can enjoy each other's company inside the salon, outside of the salon, because of the amazing location that we're in. And we're really lucky to be there. And I think it could be achieved wherever you are. If you're in a central city as well, just being near the sea means that maybe after work on a Friday in the summer or in the winter, because we're all mental, we can go for a swim when we finish work, or we can meet together in the morning and get a coffee. There's like a little outside seating area for the green and stuff. And when the guys are on breaks, they're allowed to have lunch breaks together. They can work that out. So there's a few of them on lunch at the same time. That's totally fine with us. They can go and spend that bit of time away with each other and talking. And then obviously we do other things as well. So we've been up to London a few times for Creative Head Awards. So doing things like that is great because we get that travel time and get to just really enjoy each other's company, which I think we kind of genuinely do. Anyway, yeah.
And I think that atmosphere kind of radiates into everything you do. Certainly that comes across in your social media. It just looks like you guys have the best time together, which is just, it's fantastic to see. And I know you are also a big ambassador for your team. You're their biggest cheerleader. You want them to succeed. So how do you fit those kind of opportunities which maybe arise? That could be some people wanting to get involved at Fashion Week. That could be them wanting to go on in a colour course. It could be anything. How do you fit that in to also then work in their column as well, and, you know, looking after children or whatever else may be?
Yeah, that's I've actually just had everything on our Instagram is stuff that I do, and it's always just reactive, and I always think it sounds like a rant, but hopefully it doesn't. And it's kind of obviously aimed at our clients, at like anyone else that's interested in anything. But anyway, this week, a couple of days ago, I did actually have to put something on there because the opportunities that we get in the industry are like the most amazing things, and it makes like a happy, healthy career for everyone in the salon that wants to do them. Not everyone wants to do them either, or wants to pick up every opportunity they might get, which we have to respect too, and have to not be offended by people saying no to things because they've got other things going on. But yeah, we do the opportunities come around so late, so it could be something next week, and we know that that stylist is booked 6 to 8 weeks in advance. So we will call and move their clients, and quite often they'll do it themselves out of respect for their clients, and just explain to them, I've been offered to do this incredible show at Fashion Week. I've been offered this. One of the guys has had the most amazing the last few months. He did New York Fashion Week and then he did London, and that's his dream. And as a stylist, that used to be my dream. And it sounds really sad, but I swear to God, I had way more happiness from seeing him go and do it than me going to do it. I didn't feel like any jealousy. But anyway, so when that happens, we are really honest with our clients. And to be honest, if I was coming to the salon having my hair cut, I would want to see that stylist that I've seen for a year or 2 years, every 8 weeks, go off and do the things that make them happy and make them a better hairdresser. How cool that you can go to a salon in Plymouth, in Devon, miles away from London, have someone that's just worked on Fashion Week or has just gone and done this amazing course. It's only going to make them better for their clients.
And sort of that, part of that is the way that you're sharing that narrative to your team and to your staff, and the way they're portrayed on social media. So if they have done an amazing opportunity, like getting involved at Fashion Week or working on a shoot, or going and they've just done a course and, you know, they've got their certificate, anything like that, shout about it, because it makes your salon look even better. It, you know, it brings awareness to what each individual team member's doing. And, you know, then at least the clients understand, okay, yeah, that is why my appointment had to be rescheduled. So I think it is about shifting the narrative so it's positive, and then that makes staff feel like they can take those opportunities rather than almost being scared, because quite often I see it myself on social. You know, a lead hairdresser could be saying that they need an assistant tomorrow, but if you don't have that atmosphere where, or that environment that people feel they could go to and say, oh, I've seen this opportunity come up, please can I go, I know it's late notice, then, you know, they're never going to be able to actually get involved because they don't feel like they can. So I think that's so important. And aside from those kind of things, you know, you've got the opportunities, you've got the team building. Claire, I've spoken to you briefly as well, and I know you have this fabulous thing with one of your team where they have a gym membership and they get to go and do gym classes with you. Those small things, tell us about kind of how that's, you know, leading a really happy, positive, you know, team environment.
Oh yeah, well, Jess, she's absolutely amazing. I love her to bits. But yeah, every Friday morning she comes to the gym, and I think we put a video on the other week of me pushing it. We end up laughing more than we do exercise, to be fair. But I think it's really important, and you know, to encourage your staff's health and well-being and things like that, because ultimately your well-being and your staff's well-being, it just floods throughout the whole salon, you know, and they're feeling really good and you're feeling really good. Your client, they're going to feel good to make a better environment for your clients, you know, so it's really important to do that. You know, we do little yoga stretches as well before work, you know, because we stood all day, it's our back. So we do little things like that. I just think it's really important. We're actually gone, like I said, doing this mental health first aid course, which again, I think is important because that's going to help ourselves, but also be able to deal with issues in the salon as well, if anything comes up in the salon that we need to deal with.
Absolutely. And I know you have a Facebook group as well, which isn't just for hairdressers or clients, but that's really important in, you know, making sure that people are checking in with their well-being. Could you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Yeah, well, I actually set it up in one of the lockdowns, and I just set it up. Originally, I did set it up for clients, and then I thought, oh, sod it, you know, it's COVID. I'll just open it up to anybody because it doesn't really matter. I just want it to benefit people. So like anybody can join it. And I basically go on there and we have a weekly check-in, you know, and you can check in which colour you're feeling. So it just gets people to look at how they're feeling. We do it with our staff, staff and clients in the salon as well, because when they come in, we'll say, oh, how are you feeling today? And when we do the meditations, me and Jess, it's like, right, what are we feeling today? And it's important to get people to check in on themselves and think how they're feeling, and encourage them to allow themselves to feel. But I share a lot of my own experiences on the, struggling with my mental health. I do struggle, I'm not going to lie. Literally, I've been shitting it all day about doing this. I'm not going to lie. This is reality. But, and I probably did about 50 meditations before this. But I just think it's important to show the reality. And I share my reality on these videos. I share my struggles, I share my happy things, I share the things that have helped me and the things that I'm struggling with. And I think it allows people to be real then, which I think is important, because with social media and everything these days, there's not a lot of reality. And I think it's important to show reality, not only in your business, but in your person, as a whole. And I think clients and other people in the industry actually would prefer that, because they think, oh shit, it's not just me then, it's not just me. Actually everybody does have similar things and similar thoughts, and let's try that. That's how she deals with that. See if that works for me. And I encourage people to share their things, what works for them as well. I learned a lot of my junior stylist, she's incredible, and we all teach each other, and it's being open to that is important. Sorry, I go on a rant. Go on a wabble.
No, I think that is also something, on a slight side note, that would be brilliant to touch on, because I know that both Joes, as well as sharing the same name, do also share mobile numbers and speak regularly on WhatsApp. And that's kind of an important thing to remind everyone watching, that you aren't alone, that if you are going through something, chances are somebody else is also going through it. And you can have mates in the industry who will be there to be a sounding board. Joe from Blogs, how did that come about, you guys speaking and giving each other advice on WhatsApp?
God, I'm not sure how it started. I think probably on Instagram, first of all, sort of a few emojis flying around on different sort of posts and stories, and then sort of went from there, I think, and then just reaching out and chatting about things. I mean, it's great actually hearing Claire say us about social media there. I think you can get very caught up as a salon owner, seeing what other people are doing and thinking what other people are doing great things and amazing businesses. But actually they are probably struggling, having tough times, worrying about making payday, paying VAT, all that kind of stuff that I think you go through as a salon owner. But you very rarely post it or say about it, because you don't want to show the side of you. But actually having other people you can chat to in the industry is amazing. I know me and Joe both also work with a guy called Simon Shaw, and I've been sort of chatting to him quite a lot for the last 18 months about just having that person you can talk to, understands the industry, and actually chatting about issues, problems, and anything that I faced personally on sort of my own development and that kind of stuff. And I think me and Joe just started chatting from there, and then we sort of had a few chats over FaceTime, and it's great. I really enjoyed it. I respect Joe massively, what she's achieved and everything, and it's a great business. It's always a pleasure chatting to her and just finding out what's going on.
Yeah. See, so as well as Instagram showing the not so reality side of things, quite clearly it also does have its benefits for helping people connect. And people are only a DM away, and I know that there's kind of now a shift back to speaking honestly about things that you are doing, and that might come across a bit ranty, but that's all good. It's important to show the transparency both with your clients and with fellow hair pros, because everyone here has said, if you're going through it, somebody else probably might be as well. So with that in mind, in a nutshell, how can you create the best out of your team? Everyone here, well, I'm sure, will have a slightly different approach, but Paul, how do you get the best out of your team? Because that's kind of what it comes down to.
100%. I listen a lot more now. I've read so many books about listening. Most people don't listen, and I keep saying I haven't listened to people over the years. I actually listen now, and I take in what they want and what they're saying, because at the end of the day, it is genuine. As everyone's saying here, it's all about your inner happiness. It really genuinely is, and contentment. And so if you come into an environment, be it my salon or anyone's salon, if the staff aren't happy, and I think somebody mentioned earlier on, the client sees it straight away and they don't want to be in that environment. So how are you going to attract clients, let alone staff to come and work for you? Like-minded staff. It's funny. You build a team around a culture. And if the culture is happy and relaxed, and also, you got a client culture coming through, it gives a great combination. So I've listened to people, I've listened to my staff, and I've listened to clients. And I listen to my wife as well, because she's brilliant. Like she tells me how it is, man. My God. And I get it, I get it. But I have to say, I really have. I've enjoyed my work the last while since we came back. I really have. I have enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed actually me, if you know what I mean. I said a bit cruddy, but I actually think I am a bit of a nicer person in work. And as being a manager, salon owner, I do feel like I've learned a lot and I've listened an awful lot. I really have genuinely listened.
Mm. I know you kind of do refer to yourself as a slightly old school hairdresser, not so much perhaps anymore in your attitudes, but there is a lot of people who I'm sure have been in the industry a long time and feel this way and probably feel a little bit uncertain about how to shift. What's your main piece of advice, Paul, for anyone that might feel that things need to change but don't really know how to go about doing it?
It's funny. There is that. I was scared how to change because I never knew any difference. When you don't know any different, you just got to do it. You can't change everything all at once. Small things every time, just little things make huge differences in a salon environment and to people. It makes a massive difference. If you listen to someone and they want something or they need something, it's fantastic. And I love the idea of journaling. I don't do it, but I know some of the guys in work do it. And it's getting stuff from here onto it, and it's just a matter of, you can change. I changed the business around, as in how we do things. And it's brilliant. I much prefer our business, our company now than I did prior to COVID. I know I hate talking about COVID all the time, but I genuinely do. I like it. And I did change because I had to. If I didn't change, I don't think I'd have 58 people working for me. It'd be myself on my own, doing everything. And that's the reality of it, because people did come back. Everyone had, I believe, different attitudes, which is good. Some went a bit mental, but most of the stuff was good. I think if we don't change, you left me behind. I don't want to be left behind. I still love what I do.
And that's kind of actually nicely summed up, because that's kind of been a theme overall for today. It's how do you change, adapt, grow, and especially in the current climate, I think that is very valuable sort of takeaway there. And I think that comes down to really the bottom line of a salon team. The bottom line is a salon team is the fundamental, reason a business will be successful. If the team are happy, fulfilled, energized, wanting to grow, wanting to succeed, that's reflected in what they do. They feel like they can be creative, they can prioritize their skill, and they don't have somebody pressuring them to get to the next client or fill in that lunch break or making sure their column is super full every day of the week. All of those kind of things that you guys have spoken about, that is then felt by the clients. It's it's a trickle down effect. The atmosphere, everyone I'm sure has been into a salon where they feel the tense vibes, that it radiates. It absolutely does. And cultivating that positive work environment cultivates happy clients who return and are loyal to your salon. And that means it's a win-win from everybody. So finally, I'm going to ask everyone on here, the panel, what's the one thing you feel that people should take away from our panel talk today? So starting with you, Louis.
I think, like Paul just said, using your senses, using your sight, using your touch, connecting with people and really being there in the moment is so important, and letting people feel that you're there.
Absolutely. It's that classic theme of you need to be seen to be heard, and actually being present there with them. Brilliant. Absolutely. Joe, how about you? Joe from Blogs.
On the spot there. I mean, this is it's actually been really a pleasure sat here actually chatting with other salon owners or people in the industry who've all like-minded and have all got a very amazing look on business and life and happiness. I think there's been so much to take away from it, and it's I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the mental health first aid thing is really something that I think I might even reach out to Claire myself and find out what she's sort of chatting about with that, and find out how to put that into process. I generally really enjoyed it, and I think everyone here has touched on some really important topics and parts of, our team of people, and they have their own life and their own struggles, stresses, pressures, and you have to understand that to actually get the best out of them. And just by talking to them, communicating with them, and having no judgment. I think my team can literally tell me anything they want, and I won't judge them for it. I'm there to make sure that they're happy and they're healthy and they're enjoying being in the business. But yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's been great. So yeah.
Fab. And how about Jo from Yoke? What's the main takeaway that you think people should remember?
Probably be human, be more human, because I don't know, we've all worked, I'm sure we've all worked for people where it hasn't been the kind of environment that was healthy or we were happy in. So it's just trying to be conscious and remind yourself of that all the time. Be somewhere where you want to work, where you want to be for the majority of your week, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about you, Claire? What's sort of your main takeaway from this?
Oh, I've just loved listening to everybody else. I've learned a lot of things on here myself, which I'm going to probably implement as well. My biggest thing is to realise our power as hairdressers and as humans, like Jo was saying, and within our industry, that we've got the power when the clients are sat in the chair to encourage inner beauty as well as our outer beauty, and if we can help them to feel better internally as well as staff, then everything else will fall into place externally. And our industry is very much a fashion thing, and I understand that, and I do. But I do think that, we can encourage inner self-belief and self-love, so that people can really appreciate the exterior. Because you can do the best balayage in the world, but if you feel shit, you're never going to see it. You're never going to, you're always going to think it's crap. You're always going to think it's, maybe not everybody, but, I just really think it's such an important thing. And I really hope that we can make a bit of a shift and encourage well-being in ourselves, our staff. And then ultimately it'll just ripple effects through clients and other people, a positive change for everybody. Sorry, wobbled again.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Positive change for everybody. I think everybody should be remembering. And finally, Paul, what would be your one piece of advice you'd give to anyone watching?
Well, to be honest with you, we're all in the same boat. We all have the same problems. We all have the same worries. People just don't talk enough, I think, to each other. Some salon owners, I certainly know in Dublin, a lot of us do talk together, and we do spread. Because I can tell, I tell the truth to everybody, to staff, to my clients, and to my friends who are hairdressers. If we're having a bad day in the salon, we're having a crap day. We're not busy. So we are all in the same boat. If I've got a staff that are upset, talk to them. I will talk to them. I've learned to talk to them, but every one of us, the panel here, we're all looking, we're nodding our heads going, every one of us has been up the Swanee many a time, and we all know it, So look, it's been such a positive. This has been a positive panel. I've done a good few of these over the last while, and listen to everyone. We're all talking the same things, guys. And it is about awareness and how you feel as a human, like as a person, as a human, and how we look onto ourselves. I just think it's fantastic. And if whoever's watching this today, they're going to get so much out of it. I got so much out of it. I think every one of us on the panel got an awful lot out of it today. So just, be honest, and everyone's going through the same kind of crap every day, but we love it and it's brilliant, and just keep going.
Fantastic. So our wonderful viewers, it's over to you now to get those, to get more info from our experts and share those questions that you may have. So I'm just looking through the chat now. Louis, this one would be, I think, particularly good for you to answer. How can stylists speak to salon bosses who are less open to change, who might have a more traditional view or are more about presenteeism?
Wow, thanks for that. I think with anything, if you have a measured approach and if you go with a considered way of speaking to the person that you want to speak to, so, instead of being kind of emotional and panicky and doubting what you want to say, write it out, have a clear, concise direction of where you want to take the conversation, and don't react from what you get back. Take some time, step back from their answer, and if it's not something that you want to hear, I take that on board. I'll get back to you. Let me have a think about it, and just let the conversation kind of flow, rather than it being a challenge or a dispute or going down a negative avenue. Because that can possibly happen.
I suppose it's all about going into that meeting or that situation as prepared as you can be.
Prepared, write it out, sort of know what you want, know what you want to talk about, and don't react. It's not worth it, because you're not going to get the result that you want.
Yeah, and I think we've all been in those situations where the more emotional you get, the less you're actually conveying what you want to say. So I think it's about keeping level-headed in those situations. I can see Joe from Blogs nodding. From a business owner's perspective, how would you advise that a staff member go about that?
Just be honest. That's the it's not an easy chat to have. I must admit, that's a really awkward chat when you're sort of laying all your cards on the table and being honest. But I think you have to. I think if you want to be happy and have the life that you want, whether it's whatever it may be, you have to sort of talk about that thing and actually discuss it with your salon owner or team member. And there's no, I think Lou was great there, leave emotion out of it, literally just to speak from the heart. And you can't, one of my team, if they came to me and said anything to me, you can't judge them as a salon owner. You have to, you're there as their employer, as their supporter, and you want your team to be happy. So you have to actually have an honest chat, and it is quite awkward sometimes and very uneasy. But in that environment, I always go for out in the fresh air somewhere, sit on a bench somewhere with a coffee and a cake, and literally just talk it through. But the most open you can be and the most honest you can be, that's the only way to have that chat, I think.
Can I just say one other thing as well? And if you're not getting the result, if you're not getting the answers back that you want, maybe that environment is just not right for you. And maybe that boss is not treating you the way that you should be treated. And maybe it's time to move on and move forward for everybody's sake. Because that, facing those fears and realizing you're not in a situation that suits you is adult and mature, and, how life happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's about finding an environment where you are in a like-minded community, really. So absolutely. We've had a question in from Ian saying, do you all employ your teams? So Joe from Blogs, we'll just go back to you quickly on your employment structure.
Everyone's employed.
And Joe from Yoke.
We employ everyone as well. I guess it's like Joe would tell you, it's trying to bridge the gap though in the salon between being self-employed and being employed. We're offering a safe employed environment, but treating people as individuals.
And how about you, Paul? Is that an employed? I believe it is.
Everyone's employed.
Yeah. And Claire, I know you have a mix, don't you, between self-employed and employed?
I do. I'm a bit of a hybrid. I actually started off my salon as all self-employed. And then obviously we've grown into like our ethos and things like that. And I am actually really lucky that I've got the team who I work with, who are all on board with the ethos of the salon. I do employ one stylist who she came to me sort of nearly qualified, but needed a lot more training. And then I helped to train her, and now I do employ her. And I am open to employing more people, but we do work, we all work as a team, even though the others are self-employed. I have two self-employed therapists who do the therapies upstairs. and then a self-employed stylist, and she's 100% on board with our ethos. So it's never an issue for us, you know, and if ever any issues came up, we sit and chat about them. There's no secrets in our salon at all, you know. So I do think it's not an issue unless it becomes an issue, you know, and if you're honest and open about everything, then it's never an issue.
Absolutely. We've also had a question that says, there's so much talk about recruitment and how hard it is. How important is what you're talking about today to attract people to the industry? Paul, let's start with you. How important do you find it?
Yeah, it's tough one over here as well. I can imagine it's tough everywhere. It depends. You have so many diverse people coming to you for jobs, but as I said earlier on, people know the way we are as a salon team because they hear about us outside of their hairdressing friends. So you're not going to have someone that's not going to want to join us. You know, someone who wants to join you, be it an apprentice or be it a stylist. We've just employed 2 new stylists there recently, and they're exactly what I would want. You know, they came to us, you know. So I think you attract, it's like your clientele. You see that, what, 10 stylists, each one of those stylists attract a different clientele to them. I could tell you who's Amy's client. When they come into the desk, I know it's her client. I know by them. Do you know what I mean? So we attract that kind of staff member. And, you know, okay, yeah, listen, I made a mistake over the years. I have made mistakes by taking somebody on thinking they want to work with us, but actual fact, it didn't work. And what happens is they move on. They don't stay. If they're not happy, they will go, you know. And it's, you know, as Louis was saying earlier on, if you're not happy in an environment and you will move on, or just there's no point being there because you will not be happy and you will bring the whole team down, you know. And we are very lucky. We have 58 staff now working with the 3 salons. And I must say, naively, I thought everyone was going to be the same in the 3 salons, but each salon runs differently. Each salon is different. It's brilliant. And I work in the 3 of them, and I love going. I'm more than a chameleon. I'm differently in each salon. But it's great to see different people in there. And, you know the people that come and want to work for you, they're they just want to be in that environment. So we are kind of lucky. We attract a certain type of people to the shop. But, you know, there are times where you do get it wrong, and I have got it wrong, yeah. But, you know, it is that kind of way.
I could see Joe from blogs, you nodding throughout. Would you agree with Paul that it is kind of like you attract the sort of team that you would want, perhaps?
100%, yeah. I think, yeah, Paul said everything perfectly there. I agree with everything you said. But when you try and force it for a need to fill a hole in the team or specific skill set or something, you always get it wrong. I've been there myself and made mistakes, and you can see it straight away. And it just doesn't work. The culture shifts a little bit, or the team, it doesn't quite gel. And I think your salon or your business definitely will attract like-minded people. And then as in the interview process, or when you talk to the new person, trying to understand them as well and find out what they can bring to the team, what they're looking for. And I think that's where I've probably become more aware myself, is at that initial sort of discussion stage, trying to find out who they are as a person, what they're after, and then trying to will that fit it back into the business. And I think that's where you have to, I was laughing at Paul. I thought what he said was literally like, we've all been there, we've all experienced it, and we all made those mistakes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And just out of curiosity, if you were looking to recruit somebody, is that something you'd kind of mention in your job listing, that there's almost that kind of like flexible thing? Because, you know, it's kind of like we're seeing this across industries, that people want jobs where they could work from home or there's flexible work. Is that something you would kind of include in a job listing when you're kind of recruiting somebody? Joe from blogs.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, to be fair, I don't actually I haven't actively advertised or recruited for people for the last probably 3 or 4 years. A lot of people come to us and actually message us either on Instagram or emailed. I haven't actively put advert out anywhere probably since before COVID. And I think because we've had a reputation in the city we are, for how we look after our team, that's obviously gone on. It's built up in the industry, built up in the city sort of thing. People have approached us for jobs. So I can't answer that question. I'm unfortunate. I'm sort of, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really answer that question properly. I mean, it's not something that I'm looking at doing as an adverts out there. I generally think that your reputation should attract the correct team member that you're after.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we've just had a message in as well that says, what's next for you? Is there something on your list of things that you want to implement into your business in the health and wellbeing space? Louis, let's start with you. What's next for you?
What's next for me is I'm actually just about to do a big launch exhibition, immersive experience with my I Can, I Am, and I Will brand. So the brand is about empowering positive storytelling, which is something that I've collaborated with my clients and people that I've worked with. So using our craft and our industry to as a base for communication and open and honesty. So I'm going to exhibit the work and invite people along. I have a confession booth where you can come in, you can confess your I can, I am, and I will manifestations. It's creative, it's bold, it's colourful, because I want to, inspire young people to come into the hairdressing industry. It's an industry that I came into as a working class boy from a council estate that wouldn't have had access to a creative job if it wasn't for hairdressing and if it wasn't for going to college to be a hairdresser, So to promote hairdressing as a career and to promote it as a job and to promote it going through college, going through any way that you can get into it, because it's a community, it's connection, and, it's about expressing yourself.
That's beautiful. How about you, Claire? What's next for you?
Oh God, what isn't next for me? I've got like so many goals. It's ridiculous. But I just love what Louis said, by the way. I was like listening to all that. Well, doing more with myself of Salon Group. There's things that I want to sort of get into a little routine with for that and growing that, because I really that's more for anybody, like the hairdressing community and clients, anybody can do that. So sort of growing that more, I'd like to grow that more so that more people can share and have access to tips and wellbeing. But I'm in the process of I've designed my own course, which I want to launch soon. I've designed one for our industry, which will be helping with like wellbeing in our industry, mental health. And then I've also wanting to implement it in colleges and things like that. So I've been sort of working with some students. I'd really love to help students overcome the mental health issues so that they can become the stylist that they want to be. Because I was held back for so many years, and if I'd have had support being younger, I probably would have achieved my goals sooner. But then, to be fair, I've needed all that experience so that I can then put this forward. So I'm grateful for all my experiences, but now I really want to implement what I've learned to help others to grow. That's my goal.
Amazing. And how about you, Jo, from Yoke? What's next?
Oh God. I guess like listening to making friends with as many people in the industry that are trying to do the same thing, that have salons, and learn from their experiences and suck in as much information of things that haven't worked or have worked from them, how they've created like these happy, amazing environments, and hopefully be able to shout about how amazing employed salons are and can be, and how safe we can make our teams feel, how we can pay them what they deserve, pay them properly, and give them these amazing safe environments to work in and be employed, and how great that model can be.
Fantastic. I'm going to quickly come to you, Jo and Paul, just so I can get what everyone's up to next. Paul, what is next for you?
Oh God, there's so many, as everyone said, like there's so many goals out there. I love salons, so I'm looking to probably open another salon. So I'd love to have 4 salons, but I keep the environment, because as I say, we have 3 salons at the moment, and the 3 of them have different environments, and I love the 3 environments. So if I can manage to open another one and have another cool environment, I'd be chuffed. But look, I'm content. I'm very content with everything I have. I love listening to all this today. This to me is, this is therapy for me as well. It is brilliant to listen to all this, and everyone's views. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm all right with everything. I'm not the 000 and the thing now. So time is up. See ya.
Joe, in a nutshell, Joe from Blogs, let's give us a sentence. What's next?
On the spot. I think the mental health first day thing for Blogs, I'm going to look at that. I'm like Paul, looking at expanding my business, but something I'm actually looking at personally doing actually in the industry is actually raising awareness for salon owners and employee salons through a lot of stuff I'm working on through social media. So I hate a plug, so I'm not going to plug it, but have a little look, check it out, and a lot of things happening soon.
Plug it. What is it?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know what it is.
It was all about sort of creating happy environments and really sort of being honest, actually, as a salon owner, what we go through. I've got 2 young daughters, and the pressure and the strains you go through as a salon owner. So like newsletters going out, salon owner meetups where you get together virtually and discuss problems and openly talk about things.
Brilliant.
And yeah, some events coming soon and that kind of thing.
And on that note, I think that's an important.
I'm going to do a plug as well. Check out my journal. Check it out.
Good man.
That's over. That's all we have time for, I'm afraid. Massive thanks to the panel for all those plugs, for all that insight. But no, it has been a fantastic session, and yeah, a bit like therapy for everyone, I'm sure, but brilliant answers, and I'm sure there is something that everyone watching can take away from. So thank you for those brilliant answers, and thank you to everyone that submitted questions as well.
Thank you so much, everyone. Lovely to spend the afternoon with you.
And a huge thank you to all the brands involved today for sharing such amazing stories, support and insight. To all our fantastic speakers and panelists, we cannot thank you enough for sharing. And to everyone at home, obviously, thank you for joining us today. We hope that you'll have found some business nuggets of inspiration to help you do business better in the coming months. Remember to sign up for Salon Smart Hub for free access to more business-focused content. We'll also be bringing Salon Smart to Dublin on the 7th of November, so be sure to check out the lineup and hopefully we'll see you there. Salon Smart is also returning to London on the 20th of March 2023, so add it to your diary and more information will be coming soon. That just leaves me to say thank you for watching.